welcome back. It is Brandy, and today I'm bringing you a video about inspiration. Rather, what inspires me. Some people might ask, where do you get your inspiration? Or some people might feel uninspired because who knows what. But inspiration can come from anywhere. For me, the short answer to what inspires me is everything. It's that simple. The long answer is TV, movies, books, people, my surroundings, my dreams, my family, my friends, jewelry, animals, nature. Whatever I see, I can take inspiration from. So, for example, I mentioned in a previous video that my first book was inspired by me going through heartbreak and me reading another book that was a fun, easy read that I read in 2 days. And I was like, I could write this book. So I just started writing. And actually, prior to that, I had been writing another manuscript that I had written in a composition book. When I transcribed it to my computer, that computer crashed and I lost that manuscript. So I had to start on another one, and that is what became Life, Love, and Margaritas. I was inspired to write the two books from the Withdrawal series because someone was looking for a ghostwriter, and he decided that he wasn't going to publish the books, but he basically paid me to write the first book. And when he decided not to publish it, I gave him that money back, and so I published the books myself. So inspiration can come from anything. It can come from money. It can come from, breakups. It can come from falling in love. It can come from traumatic experiences. Inspiration can come from anything. My inspiration for my NaNoWriMo project was that I had never written a YA fantasy novel, and I was like, I'm going to give it a try. So I dove in. I dipped my toe in, and then I just dove in because I had 30 days to write 50,000 words, and I did it. I'm not saying it's any good. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying I did it. I've been toying with the idea for a story that was actually inspired by a dream that I had. And it was a very strange dream. It involved a cult. I got somehow sucked into a cult in my dream. And it involved doing a whole bunch of weird things. There was a farm, and there was a room. The cult leader was a strange man. And I still remember this dream. A lot of times I forget the dreams that I had, but I still remember this dream. So I think there's a reason for that. Maybe that's because I'm supposed to write a book based on this dream. So again, inspiration. My inspiration comes from everywhere. I used to live up north. I'm in California. I used to live in Northern California in Humboldt County, where they grow lots and lots of marijuana. And there are things that inspire me from there. There were lots of Victorian houses there, and I love Victorian architecture. And so I actually have a setting in my NaNoWriMo project that is a Victorian house because of my experience, up there and seeing all the beautiful Victorian houses. I actually lived in a Victorian that was converted to a 4-bedroom apartment. I mean, a 4 a 4-unit apartment, and I heard a story about that apartment where there was a suicide. That also, inspired me to write something about that. I haven't done that yet, but it's been churning in my head for 10 years now, because that story stuck with me. And maybe I will create something that involves that surrounds that's about that. I'm not sure. But again, one of the ways to find inspiration is to talk to people. I'm kind of an introvert, so I don't generally just spark up conversations with strangers. But if a stranger starts a conversation with me, I can explore where that goes, and depending on the stories they tell me, maybe I'll take inspiration from something like that. There is a writer that I learned about in one of my English classes, actually. We watched an interview with her, and she said one of the things she does is, like, when she gets on the subway, she's sitting next to someone, she says, "Tell me a story." And she'll say this to a random stranger. And that gets her mind going, and it helps her it inspires her. And that's how she comes up with her stories. And I find that very interesting, because you can learn a lot from people just by hearing very little of what they're saying. I like to watch people's body language. I like to watch people's facial expressions. And that's something that also inspires me, because I have a very expressionate face. And a lot of times when I'm watching TV, my facial expressions will change. And I don't know that I'm doing it, but other people are like, "What are you watching?" Because I'll have a look on my face that is either abject horror, or maybe I think something is hilarious. Who knows? But watching people's faces is something that can inspire you for sure, because especially if you don't know the context and you see a person's face, you can create a story around what they're seeing and why they're making that face. One of my favorite movies is about writers. Actually, it's called Wonder Boys. And there's this scene in it. It stars Michael Douglas, Tobey Maguire, Robert Downey Jr., and Katie Holmes. Rip Torn is in it. Frances McDormand is in it. And there's a lot of actors in this movie. But there's this scene that I love, and it's Michael Douglas's character and Robert Downey Jr.'s character are at a bar with Tobey Maguire's character. They see a man across the bar, across this restaurant, and they just make up a story about him. They give him a name, they give him a plot, and they just run with it. And when I saw that, I was like, that is amazing. And ever since then, I've done that. I've done it in my head, because I don't have anyone to create characters with in my life, because I'm the only writer. But I find it very fun. And so I do that sometimes when I'm in a crowded place, or if I'm standing in line and I see somebody with an interesting face. And it's actually a really good writing tool to have in your tool bag or your toolbox, because you can remember those things. Like, you're standing in line at the grocery store, the line is wrapped around the corner, as it might be nowadays with circumstances as they are, and you see a person with a cherubic face but a large round body, and their face doesn't quite match their body, so you give them a story. Maybe they are a factory worker who has to support his ailing grandmother because she raised him, and his parents died in a house fire that was mysteriously that happened under mysterious circumstances, and he has been trying to find out who killed his parents, because he knows that that fire wasn't an accident. His grandmother knows more than she's letting on, but she won't say anything because it was his cousin who set the fire. Because his cousin was jealous of him as a child, and his cousin wanted to get back at him for some probably, slight offense or no offense at all, because jealousy makes people do crazy things. And you run with a story. Now, that might not have been the best story, but it's one, and I'll remember it. And if I write it down, I'll remember it. So inspiration can come from anywhere. Just look around, look at your surroundings. Maybe you have a promotional pin that says, Rash, Curtis and Associates. I'm not endorsing this company. It's just a pin that's sitting there on the desk right now. Create a story surrounding this company. Doesn't have to be a real company. Doesn't have to be, accurate. Just create a story. That's how you find inspiration. What if the company was involved in money laundering for the cartel? There's a story there. You can create it. So, I just wanted to help with inspiration for anybody who needs inspiration. I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit. People say, well, I can't come up with something. You can come up with a story in your head. If you're a romance person, think of romance. Think of your ideal romance and start there. If you like true crime, think of, a true crime story that you heard or read or watched on TV, and take the idea of what that true crime story was about and then create your own story. There's inspiration everywhere, and all you have to do is search your mind to create a story. All you need is 3 words and you have a story. You have a story premise. So that is all for now. I really appreciate you watching. And if you've got any questions, if there's something that you would like for me to talk about, please drop it in the comment section. I would love to cover anything that you have a question on. And until next time, this is Brandy, yours in writing.